Oh, what's up guys, this is Random2 here, and I'm going to bring you Noob's Guide to Fight Caves. This isn't a guide for people that are too good. You already probably have your fire cape, but for all you noobs out there that still don't have your fire cape, this is the guide for you. And I'm going to break it up into 3 sections. 1 for the gear, 2 for strategy, and 3 for mechanics and how the game works. So without further ado, let's just get right on into this thing so you noobs can get educated. The first setup we will be showing is the high level setup. This setup features armadillo armor, Barrows gloves. I would expect you to have Barrows gloves if you have this setup by now, but if not, you can replace them with lower tier gloves such as rune gloves or the combat bracelet if you have it. We also have the guthans hide boots. Those could be replaced with Pegasian boots if you want to get the +4 ranger bonus. It has an archer's ring. We also have a necklace of anguish and full armadillo. Those are the max level range gear, so I would expect that if you're having this type of gear, you have around 156 mil to spend on it. So I don't expect you noobs to have it. Let's move on to the next one. So our primary focus here will be the mid-tier gear. Basically what it does is it replaces the armadillo armor with the guthans hide god tier body, so that way you get that 1 prayer bonus, you know, because you noobs will need it for your prayer, because you can't prayer frick, right? But we'll show you how to do that on later. Anyway, so basically you're still using the blowpipe to damage your opponents at high DPS. You're sacrificing your shield defense to do so, but believe me, it's worth it. You're going to use your guthans and your potentially Ceridoma Godsword to heal whenever you have downtime, but primarily you're going to be using that guthans to heal and the blowpipe to do damage. And finally, we've arrived at the low tier setup. The main difference between this is you're removing the blowpipe in exchange for a rune crossbow, or the highest tier crossbow you can wield, most likely ruined if your setup's for 5.2 mil. And you're also going to use that shield. The Odium Ward will provide you range defense and range attack, which is really vital in this fight cave. The only defense bonus that really matters is range attack versus the range minion. Other than that, this is probably your best bet. You're most likely not going to have Barrows gloves if you're going for a 5.2 mil setup, so you could replace that with a god tier van braces. Really not that big of a difference. You're still going to be using the boots and the half of the guthans setup, because you will still be using guthans with 5.2 mil to heal during your downtime. That's very important that you save brews during this challenge, and this will do so. This is a higher defense build. I'm assuming you're going to be tanking a little bit more damage with this, but you should have enough prayer and hit points to last you until JAD. So now we've reached the strategy part of the video. So the first part of the strategy will be showing you how to get to the fight caves. The following is a picture of Brimhaven. You can get there either by chartering and taking the red line into the dungeon, or you could take a Karamjara teleport off at Glory and follow the blue line to the dungeon as well. Once you go down the dungeon, there will be a cave. You go into the cave. Once you go in the cave, this next picture will show you how to get into the fight caves. Circled in white is where the bank is, where you can bank before going in. It's important to pre-pot also before you go in. We will discuss that later. So the following picture is what the fight cave looks like once you actually get inside the instance. So what an instance is, for those that don't know, it's a self-simulated game where no other multiplayer interaction can occur. So only you will be able to fight JAD. You will not have the help of your friends. No, Jake, I will not help you. You're a noob. You got to get the cape by yourself. So highlighted in X's are where you would like to stand. So since you enter on the top right, you could go down to the south. This rock will be called the Italy rock. Marked in X's are the 3 areas where you will want to be standing. The next screen shows the X's where all the enemy spawn locations could possibly spawn. Each wave is randomly generated, and each wave will have enemies spawn at random locations on these X's. It's important that you're not standing directly on these X's when the next wave begins, or else you can get wrecked like the noob you really are. So over here highlighted is 1, 2, and 3. So those are the order of priority of the spots that you should be standing at. So you should be standing at the southernmost part of the Italy rock if possible, but most likely you will be on the boot part of the Italy rock, as designated as number 2. Number 3 is your fallback position when you could block enemies behind the rock at spot number 1. So this slide shows what will happen if you're standing at spot number 1. Only enemies spawning in 2 of the 5 locations will be able to attack you at one time. The yellow highlighted red line is the bad enemies. You don't want that to happen. So you're going to stay at spot 1 unless a dangerous enemy is approaching from the south to the north. And then in that case, you move to the second spot. You're not going to be attacked by the enemies from the south, but you will be attacked from the enemies from the west. So you can trap the enemies to the south of the Italy Rock if they're dangerous, and then deal with the less dangerous enemies that are coming from the west. If in the case that you have dangerous enemies from the south that you need to separate from those in the west, that's when you go to spot 3. Spot 3 does not have a safe spot, so you cannot safe spot the enemies to the west. So you'll need to prayer flick them if it's the melee minion or range minion, and potentially trap the mage minion if possible behind spot 1, because the mage minion is the most dangerous. So now that you've reached the fight caves, I'll explain how the enemy spawning work. Each wave spawns in random locations, but the same enemies will spawn each wave. You'll always progress from the lowest tier enemy until you reach 2 of the lowest tier enemy, and in that one enemy, 2 enemies will upgrade into 1 enemy, such as the 45 melee minion. This trend will continue on to the ranged minion, and then the level 180 melee minion, all the way up until the 360 mage minion. Each time you see 2 minions of the same tier, if you notice, one of them will be slightly off-colored. This is important to know. That's the visual reminder that you're going on to the next tier. And the most important one is when you see 2 mage minions and one of them is gold, you got JAD next, son. But anyway, let's get on to some examples of footage. So if you notice here, I'm using the Italy Rock as a safe spot to safe spot as many enemies as possible. Don't make the same mistake that I just made right here with the melee minion. I got hit by it. You should respect the distance of that range the Italy Rock gives you and range it from a safe spot. So you could trap it on this side of the Italy Rock as I'm doing, and then worry about the minions that stack up behind it later that can attack you through as a melee minion. So take care of that bird. You don't want it to be poking you for the prayer points unnecessarily. So arguably the most important part of the fight caves that I'm going to talk about is going to be prayer flicking. It's really important to save your prayer points, but prayer flicking, you can still protect every mage hit that you'll ever take in this entire run without draining barely any prayer points if you do it correctly. Realistically, you're going to use a bunch of prayer potions, but you can save the amount you're going to use by prayer flicking. So what prayer flicking is turning the prayer for magic on the sound at the time you hear the sound. So it's important to know that RuneScape works on ticks, and the tick that the sound is displayed is the same tick that the damage is calculated. This goes for everything in the fight caves. So whenever you hear the mage minion go "Rah!", you're gonna put your magic prayer on and you're gonna protect that shit. You don't want that to hit you. So then you're gonna keep on doing this. For example, if I was gonna do this and miss timing, you can see I get hit here, but since I'm praying before the damage is displayed, I'm praying when the damage is calculated. If you do that, you'll be fine throughout the entire fight caves. When you're eating, it's really important to know that you're going to brew before you super restore. So you can take up to 2 to 3 brews before you need to take 1 super restore, because if you notice, brews raise your defense, but they also decrease all of your attack stats. So you're going to brew 2 to 3 times and then restore once to bring back both your health and your prayer. So every time you take 2 to 3 doses of brew, and then you take a restore. And it's important to note that you want to keep your hit points above 50 at all times, as well as you want to make sure that your prayer points are above 20. And it's really important to check this as the round goes, because it's easy to lose track, run out of prayer, and then die like a dumb noob. So target priority. Target priority is basically the level 22 bat above everything. It's a one-hit target, it's easy to remove, and you don't want that threat of losing prayer points. After that threat, you want to take out the ranger. He hits actually a lot of damage. He can hit up to 15, but rather consistently, and you're not going to ever be playing range in the later waves. You can see that I'm always playing mage here, and so that means that the ranger is the second priority. Third priority would be the melee minion. The melee minion you always want to trap behind somewhere, and you can't pray melee because you're still praying range, so that's going to be your third. And then your fourth priority is going to be that big fat blob that hits you. I mean, it's just going to do damage to you slowly, but it isn't that big of a deal. You can take it out no problem. And then once everything is dead, then you kill the mage minion. I know you're going to be praying mage for a while because of this, but you can even see over here when I have this mage trapped in a safe spot, which is like the ideal goal. You kill the 22 bat, you can kill anything else, and then you're going to maybe have to tank the range for a few hits if you can't safe spot it. Actually, right here, I could have even went to spot 3 and made the mage minion unable to hit me. He would have been stuck behind the wall at spot 1, and I would have just been able to kill the range by running away and making the ranger come to me. But it's okay, you can just work with what you got, boy. So this right here is an example of a tough spawn because the mage minion spawned in a spot where I'm not really able to take it out that easily. So, but I can segregate it from me. So if I run here farther away from the outside of that rock, I can force the ranger to come in close enough that I can take out just a ranger without the melee mage ever attacking me. So once that's done, I'm able to take out these bats easily, and then the melee minion can heal itself when it's within melee range of you. That's really not a big deal. It's like maybe 1 or 2 extra hits. It's also important to note here, this is a spot where if you wanted to, you could just take out your SGS and spec to gain that prayer and hit points back, or you could just go to your guthans and attack this mage or melee minion to regain your health back. Guthans has a 1/4 chance of restoring all the damage that you hit, so it's a good chance to get some health back before you go to the next wave. So as you go through the fight cave, you want to keep good target priority, where if you notice here, I see the spawn, I see that there's no one to the southeast, so that's the area that I'm currently in right now, and if no one immediately spawns there, you're safe to go down, walk here, and no one's going to ever come and attack you. So you take out the easy ones to kill there, and then since I know nothing else is spawned in, by now they would have already been attacking me, so they have to be behind that mage minion. And since they're behind the mage minion, they're being body blocked. So if I go to the left side of this mage minion, that melee minion cannot attack me because he's being body blocked by both the ranger and the mage. And then you see, if I'm fast enough, when I kill that range minion, I go back around that major, and I could still body block off that melee minion. So body blocking here is a really important aspect to this, because you can not only safe spot using the illy rock, prayer flick, which is what I'm doing right now, to conserve prayer, you could also conserve your hit points, because you could block that melee minion for free behind that major. Like, I mean, come on. So you're going to keep on using your guthans to heal as much as you can, especially if the melee minions last, it's free HP. Then the next wave will spawn. In this example, I know that the range is a high priority because he's attacking me with no bats around, and the mage minion hasn't even attacked me yet. So the mage minion has to be very far away because the mage's range is very long. So take down the range, now you're not going to be taking damage. So you take out the bat, that's eliminating the threat of you losing your prayer points to free hits. Then you know what I'm going to do for the rest of this wave. I mean, come on, you guessed it, you guys are smart noobs. You're going to take out the mage last, because that's your last priority. The melee, which I'm attacking right now, is safe spotted, so he's for free. Let's go to the next clip. So the hardest level in the entire fight caves is 2 rangers, 1 melee, and 1 mage. Because you're going to be taking a lot of damage from those 2 ranges. You're not going to be able to pray against them unless you're a G like me. You separate the mage on the other side of the rock. In this situation, this is my wave right here, so you might not get the same exact spawn, and you force the rangers closer to you. So I take out one, and I could still lure the other one close enough to me if I run away and make it come close. So I switch it to long range here because you want to be very careful. As I'm saying, you don't want this guy to sneak around. That's a big no-no. Dogs are cute, but mage minions, they are not cute. They will mess you up for 50s if you're not praying against them, and that might KO you. So then you go over here, and look, conveniently, oh look, the mage guy is right behind him. This is a free wave. Let's roll the JAD. We're ready for it, baby.
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
Okay, so you finally made it to JAD after like a lot of attempts, and now you're probably going to die in your first attempt too, but stick with it. JAD has 2 attacks, his mage attack and his range attack. The mage attack, like this one right here, is a longer wind up where he stands up on 2 legs, makes a long noise before the damage actually is calculated, but his range attack, such as right now, did you see how his feet went up really quick and down really quick? And then there was a delay. Now, the damage does not calculate until that final sound of the range attack. Where same thing with the mage right here, it's delayed when the damage calculates. So once you get JAD to half health, these minions will spawn. There's going to be 4, each spawning from the cardinal directions of the compass. What you're going to do is exactly what I did here. You're going to attack each of them once each to draw their attention to you, and then take them out of melee range of JAD so that way they cannot heal him. You can either completely destroy the healing minions now at this point, or just completely kill JAD because they won't be able to heal him fast enough. Unfortunately for me right here, they did start healing him again, even though I had them out of range. I tried getting him away, nothing changed, so I have enough DPS to just go through and kill JAD. You can, at this point, kill all 4 of the minions, and then take out JAD, which is what I would recommend if you can't out DPS their healing like I am here. I would recommend just straight up killing all 4. They're like the noobs of JAD, and then you take out JAD while you're prayer flicking. You most likely won't kill him this quick, so you need to be conscious of your prayer that entire time. But let me know this feeling right here when you look at your inventory and there's that fire cape. It feels nice. And then you go away and you gamble it. Like I tried right here, and I didn't even get the pet, so I was kind of pissed about that. But maybe one of these days I'll get the pet. Anyway, good luck on your own fire cape. Stay newbie, but don't stay too newbie for long. That's why we're making this channel, to help as many noobs get not newbie as possible. But I'll see you around.